Economic Development meeting. If there's any courtesy of the floor, seeing any. So the first item on the agenda is the presentation from Sites for Hope.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today we have a first time to Economic Development Committee as a presentation, Sites for Hope, which services the whole Lehigh Valley. We have some special guests, which Dennis will introduce to you as he goes through the presentation, but I'd like to introduce Dennis Zenner, Executive Director and CEO for Sites for Hope.
Thank you very much, Tina, and thank you, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Zahner. I am, as Tina mentioned, the Executive Director and CEO of Sites for Hope. We serve both the Lehigh Valley, defined as Lehigh and Northampton counties, and Monroe County. So thank you very much for having us today. We're here, want to talk a little bit about our organization because we didn't know how familiar some of you were with it. So I want to talk about the organization and what your support has been able to help fund the project. So first thing is we are the only organization in our three-county area that provides the services of these types, probably private agency of any sort for people with visual impairments or who live with blindness. And we're all about seizing independence. We are the organization that does that. What might not be known, because we have gone through some different iterations and incarnations and name changes, we've actually been part, through our predecessors, of life in Northampton County since 1928. Two organizations started at 1928, one in Lehigh County and one in Northampton County. In 2010, they decided to consolidate and create an organization that at that time was called Center for Vision Loss. And in 2021, we rebranded as Sites for Hope. But we've really been, through our organization, part of the life here in this county since 1928. We also picked up Monroe County was also added in 2002. Some of you may remember the name Viable. That was the organization that was in Northampton County at the time. And again, they consolidated with the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired in 2010. So why do we exist? We exist because we believe that people who live with visual impairments and blindness actually face disparities that are really unacceptable in terms of independence and how they live their lives and well-being. And what we did is we've looked at the ways that manifests itself most directly, and we came up with a list including mainly daily life activities, access to medical care, food, critical services, difficulties with emotional health. Now that has really grown in recent years and really become a flashpoint since the pandemic began. And also when it comes to children, a decreased potential to learn successfully in school. So, specifically in Northampton County, again, we serve three areas. The combined population of our three counties is about 840 some odd thousand. Anyway, there was a national study done by the Ohio State University and the National Vision Serve Alliance in 2022. And it broke it down through regions and into counties. And what it found is 5.4% of Northampton County residents, older residents, ages 65 and up, have a visual impairment or blindness. Now, how we define this is, do you have an impairment that cannot be corrected, but somehow interferes with you living a typical everyday independent life? That's our definition. If some of you may know more of the medical terms, is more in terms of low vision, and there's numbers to that, but we try to take the definition very broadly. So if you take that number and you take population numbers, in Northampton County alone, that means there's potentially 3,300 people who would be eligible for our services. Right now, when we wrote this slide, this number was correct at 219. We've actually closed out a few inactive clients. So right now, at this moment, as we stand here, there are 210 clients from Northampton County. Now, that's about 36% of our client base. What that tells you, of course, is there's a lot more to do. Our mission is to provide, we're very proud of our mission, is to provide people with visual impairments the skills, supports, and solutions to advance their self-sufficiency. Those are the main key words that we work by in many ways. What we do is we build skills, we deliver supports, and we advance solutions. And of course, it's to take away barriers to independence and success. We believe very much in being very individual based. What does independence and freedom mean to you, the customer, you, the client? Sometimes it's very simple. All they want to do is be able to read the newspaper or be able to see their grandchild online. whatever it is, we try to get you there. A little bit of who we serve. 44% of our clients live either below or near the federal poverty line. Many of you may know, the city of Detroit has a poverty rate of 33%. Kind of puts that in perspective. 82% of our clients are ages 55 and up. That's very simply a factor of age and how these conditions tend to hit. And most of our clients, more than 70%, hit one of these big five diagnoses, as you see: macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, which is growing as the onset of diabetes is growing, cataracts, and retinitis pigmentosa. So we have a large suite of services, and with me is our Associate Director and Director of Services, Jennifer Pandolfo. She is really the heartbeat behind our mission, and she's going to talk about our services and the guided transport service that we're here today to discuss.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you all of you for letting us be here today to talk to you about this. Our services range in spectrum from what, like Dennis said, it's very individualized, what the client needs. But the first group of programs or services that we provide are life skills or just skills in general. So we offer education classes, both in a group setting and individual, for people with visual impairment to learn how to live their everyday life, but with a visual impairment. So a lot of our clients have to learn how to do everyday things over again: how to cook, how to use the computer, how to tend to their personal care needs, things like that. So those are classes that we teach, or we teach one-on-one in the home. We also have support groups which meet for our clients and have counseling sessions that allow our clients to talk about the emotionality of losing their vision loss, that they've found themselves in this new situation and how do they get through it emotionally. They meet other people who have similar situations and who understand what they're going through. We also offer recreational and social activities. A lot of our clients are very isolated. They cannot get in the car and just go to the gym or meet up with a friend. So offering these opportunities gives them an opportunity to be part of the community, but also, again, an opportunity for them to socialize with other people who are going through the same thing. We offer skill programs for kids as well who are visually impaired. We offer a 2-week summer camp in the summer, every summer, for kids between the ages of 5 and 12. And it is a microcosm of what we do on an everyday basis, but for kids. So we tailor it for kids. We do a lot of life skills, a lot of technology, but there is a lot of social component to show kids that even though they have a disability, they shouldn't be able to stop what they like to do and how they like to have fun. Out of that came our Teens Transition Program, which is a program for the kids who have graduated from camp but have not yet reached adulthood, to help them learn what they want to do as they reach adulthood and how they can obtain those goals, goal setting, again, technology, but also mentoring with those who have gone before them, who maybe have attended college. How did they attend college with a visual impairment? That it's doable, that they can do it, and they can see that it's possible. And we also have community and educational programs on eye health and safety to community, whether it's senior citizens or kids in daycare. We offer a lot of support services. Our support services include our casework services. All of our clients have a caseworker. The caseworkers go out and help our clients read their mail, pay their bills, help them navigate what services they might be entitled to, but also to figure out what their goals are and how they can obtain those goals and how they can become independent, whether it's learning one of these life skills or getting a tool that helps them magnify their mail so they can read their mail by themselves. The caseworker is there to help kind of navigate that surrounding. Our next service is guided transportation, which we'll talk about in a moment. So some of our solutions. For our clients, and not sometimes they're not our clients, they're just people in the community, come in and have a functional low vision exam by a professional optometrist, and he specializes in low vision. He only sees people with low vision, and he gives them a consultation about what tools and technology can be used to help them either use the vision that they have left or to use that will help them remain independent. We also offer free vision screenings for kids between the ages of 0 and 6 years of age. And if a child does not pass that vision screening, we assist parents in getting free eye or getting eye exams and glasses at little or no cost to the parent, should that child not pass that screening. The idea is that kids will have glasses or the vision help that they need before they enter kindergarten, so that they're fully prepared once they reach the school age to be able to learn, if that is if they have a vision issue. Okay, so services in Northampton County, we served 2,141 Northampton County residents through the services for clients, patients, and our community members. Okay, so now we're going to talk about our guided transport service, which is what we're asking for. Our request is for a $25,000 Grow Norco grant to support our guided transportation service. Our service increases our clients' access to medical appointments, food access, the bank, the pharmacy, and other critical services. Say they need to come to the courthouse or they need to go to Social Security, things like that. We will take DMV, we will take them to things like that as well. This is an economic impact that includes longer lifespans for our clients and for residents and less utilization of taxpayer-funded assisted living. If clients are able to stay independent, then they don't need to go into assisted living, which usually is what a parent or a sibling will say to me is like, oh, my mom, I'm just going to put her in assisted living, she can't stay. Well, we're here to say, no, you don't have to go into assisted living just because you've lost your vision. You can be a functional, independent member of society, and we can teach you how. Our services are what we call door through door, which means that our drivers are especially trained in what we call sighted guide, and they help our clients get from their home to where they're going and back home again. It is not a drop-off and pick-up situation, but the drivers are there to help our clients at the store look at prices, find items, make another appointment with the doctor, read paperwork, etc. So they're there the entire time that they're with our clients. And our guided transport service is our most requested service, and it has operated continuously since the 1970s. During COVID, we did stay open and we did keep our transportation going, especially for the most critical of doctor's appointments. We had some clients who were undergoing cancer treatments during COVID who continued to do that using our transportation service, as well as some of our clients need their injections actually in order to slow the progression of some of these eye diseases down. And if you don't get those eye injections, your vision will get worse. So we continued providing that service even during COVID. The service is our core component of nearly all of our client and patient services. When we have a program or a life skill class scheduled, the first thing we have to consider is how we're going to get our clients to the center. Most of our clients don't have someone to drive them, so we do offer that as our service. And because it's so integral to the success of our service, its impact is instrumental to our most fundamental measures of success, as provided from our feedback. So this is feedback that we got from our clients through our surveys. 97% of our clients participating improved their ability to perform their daily activities. 96% of our clients improved their access to medical care, food, and other essentials. 94% improved the use of their existing site, and 95% of our clients reside outside of assisted living. In 2023-2024, we provided 867 transports to 72 clients who live in Northampton County. The number of transports was a 3% increase over the prior year. There was 144 transports to provide food access, 284 provided access to medical care, 19 provided access to other critical resources, and 420 provided access to our services and our programs. We have a part-time driver coordinator position and 4 additional drivers in our transportation department that serve Northampton County. And the program is under the leadership of myself, the Associate Director and Director of Services. We have a fleet of 4 transportation vehicles that serve Northampton County. At any given time, you might see us driving around. So I'm going to give the microphone back to Dennis, who's going to talk about our budget.
Yes.
But somehow I lost it.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. As we turn to the budget, now this was the budget that was actually within our request. We wrote that in the spring before our annual budget was completed, but it's pretty close, I believe. What I did here is I took the total cost, 91,277 for Northampton County, divided it by 867, which was our number of transports last year. Obviously, it can go up and go down, so you'll see a little bit of change. It is mostly salaries and wages and the vehicle expenses. Of course, we own, as Jennifer mentioned, we owned all of our vehicles, of course, with auto insurance, and you know what was happening at one point when fuel was going up to $5 a gallon. You can understand what was going on there. As a matter of fact, one thing we don't talk as much about, I think, with the transport service. Yes, we do have a ticket that we do ask clients if they can to purchase. It's $7 for a full ride, a round trip ride. That obviously is not anywhere near enough to cover that cost. And you can imagine when fuel was going up to $5 a gallon, we actually made the decision not to raise our ticket prices because we figured the incremental change would be that we would get back would not be worth what we would be doing to our clients. Our clients at that point, as everyone was, of course, when inflation was going as it was squeezing everybody. And we decided not, in that case, to pass it on to them. Related program expenses, a lot of that includes, of course, just the cost of running the programs. We take a percentage of that and add it to our guided transport service. And shared operations is simple overhead. What we parcel that out based on a percentage of hours, work hours. That's how we use to divide that up. So as you see, it costs about $91,000 this year for Northampton County, and obviously roughly the same in Lehigh County. So that would be part of our budget this year. So on the next slide, we have other funders we've had. I'd like to point out that everyone on this slide has in recent years supported this service. So these are not new. Sometimes one might come in or come out, but they're all people who have been in our stable before. Pennsylvania Association for the Blind is a private association of organizations that do what we do. There are 25 members. In fact, every organization that does what we do, except for the one that serves Philadelphia, is in PAB. And what PAB does is they get a allocation from the State Department of Human Services, and then parcels that out to its members. United Way, of course, is a great partner. You see Two Rivers Health and Wellness Foundation, which is based in Easton, and other foundations in this area. We're not going to go through the entire list. But we wanted to show you that there is a broad swath of support. Standard contributions, of course, are from mostly our individual donors, and ticket sales revenue, which again is not usually a very big number. In fact, it's often less than $10,000. But so we come from a lot of variety of sources that have supported this program. Of course, in the past 2 years, we've been very fortunate that to receive a Grow Norco grant that would help support this service. In 2023, it was $10,000, and for this year, calendar year, it was $22,000. I often trip and say last year because it was in my last fiscal year. So, but it has been a great sense of support. And we want to thank, of course, the commissioners and the entire county, Tina Smith, of course, County Executive Lamont McClure, of course, for all their support. I wanted to kind of add a little bit to this program. We have a very special guest with us today. Well, first, I also want to introduce our advancement manager, Elise Yardley, who's here with us. But I have a very special guest. He is our board vice president. He identifies as completely blind, and he's the founder and CEO of Active Learning Centers in Lehigh Valley Martial Arts. I believe they have 5 locations with about 150 some odd employees. One of his locations is in Palmer Township. And he has a very special perspective on our services, of course, through his many connections. So you see here on the screen is a picture of him with his guide dog, Felton, who is also with us today. So I'd like to introduce Paul Miller. Thank you. Belton is extremely well behaved, by the way.
Mr. Miller, really quick. This is Commissioner Jeff Warren. My daughter's going to be testing for her black belt in November, so let's.
Sir, I can't help.
You don't have to go easy on her. You don't have to go easy on her during that process.
Well, then I'll see you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Unfortunately, she's one of Sensei Jake's like favorites, and it really bugs me because I need him to push her a little bit.
What's your daughter's name?
Abigail Warren.
Oh, I know she is. I know, she's the troublemaker.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you for letting me speak to you today. But, and as Dennis said, we've had our business in Northampton now for 9 years, and we're very happy with the area and stuff like that. But I'm a living example of what this organization can do, right? So I found out when I was 35 that I was going blind. At age 40, I said, I'm going to just go for it and start my own business because I needed people to come to me instead of me going to them. Sorry, guys. I think I might be blind. So I started this business, and like everybody else, when you do it, hope and a prayer. But I had found out I was going blind, and so I visited the organization Center for Vision Loss, and they were so incredibly kind to me and helped me get through things that I found to be extremely difficult after when losing my vision. And that was just being able to get around and being an independent individual. And so I felt to the point where I was, with the help of the Sites for Hope, getting the mobility training and being able to learn more about computer. And I have to tell you, and sadly, that at age 40, I couldn't type at all. Right, I had hunt and pick, and if you're blind, that's not a good thing, right? So I learned how to type, at age 40, and they were instrumental in helping me be able to do that and using the technology, and being able to actually live every day and be happy with what I'm doing for the community and happy what I'm doing for each and every one of the children that we serve and the families that we serve. So, Sites for Hope was very instrumental in that. I will also just say before, and you probably already know this, but the transportation piece of this is a big, big deal for people who are kind of shut in, and they're limited on resources. I don't know if anyone's tried Uber lately, but it's extremely expensive, and a lot of these folks just don't have the money to be able to get their own transportation, or they may not have family members, that are close by that can help them, and we need them to be independent. So, the helping with that, I use Uber all the time. I can afford it, but a lot of people can't. I would never take a spot from Center for, from the Sites for Hope, because of that. But it's easy for me to spend $100 in one day just for transportation. And I don't care who you are, that adds up in a hurry. Makes sense. So thank you so much for all of your support, and please do everything you can to help these folks, and we'll keep our business in Northampton. Thank you so much, everyone. Do you have any questions for me?
Related to this subject, I personally don't. Does anybody else have any questions on council?
If you don't mind, Mr. Gaffredo, you had mentioned that 44% of individuals who do have visual impairment or who are blind live near or below the poverty line.
Right.
Is it because of their visual impairment, or is it just part of this cycle?
In a way, I guess it's a bit of a chicken and the egg argument, but Paul can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I will tell you guys that it's, we company. We have 170 employees, right? And we only have 2 people in our organization that are blind or visually impaired. And we look for people, but I'm going to tell you guys, it is not easy for those folks to get a job that they can sustain their life, especially at today's costs. So that's my opinion.
Thank you.
Actually, Paul, I have a question for you. Do you find that since you were born with sight and lost it later in life, that it's maybe easier for you to function than somebody that was born with blindness, or do you think it's the other way, or do you have any insight on that? It's just out of curiosity.
That I could see, as a young person, because I have a picture of something in my mind of what things look like. But, to give you, for instance, I've never seen any of my grandchildren.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's a tough thing to deal with, and so what you do is you step back and you put on your big boy pants, and you say, what am I going to do to solve the problem, and we're fortunate enough to have groups of people who care enough to do that.
Well, you're very inspirational considering a lot of people with a lot less at their fingertips and what you accomplish with what you have. So we're very, very inspiring to see you up here. Absolutely.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, I'm going to bow. That's my 50 years of martial arts. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Paul. I just want to amplify a little bit of his point about transportation. In 2022, we put together our most recent strategic plan, and we were going through the process. And I've been with the organization since 2018. I became executive director in 2020. When we were going through this process in 2022, I think I had the light bulb aha moment where I realized, and this is a bad joke, I realized, but transportation is the hub of the wheel of everything we do here. If we want to say we want to have more programs, like Jennifer talked about, how do you get them there? And then if you have a program which we're bringing people there, there's one less medical appointment you can take someone to, one less grocery shopping trip you can take someone to. To put a little bit in perspective, again, our entire budget for transportation, our 3 counties, obviously goes to about $300,000. That's about a fifth of our agency's budget. It is by far the most expensive thing we do, but we're pretty much at a case where we can do almost nothing without it. I can also tell you, as COVID was at its worst and started to begin to subside a little bit, our clients were were pushing us to come back because they wanted to be together. And they wanted that camaraderie. And we talked about skills. That's a very important skill of interpersonal skills and beating isolation. So at this time, I want to have any other questions about our services or our application. I want to thank the commissioners, all of you, for listening and have any questions.
You have a question? How many vehicles did you have? I think you might have had it in the presentation.
In the Lehigh Valley, we have 4 vehicles.
4 vehicles.
All of them are used. Almost all of them, the Lehigh Valley ones are all minivans or buses. In our other area, we have some sedans. Almost all of them have been purchased used. Some of them have 100, 200,000 miles on them, but we keep them going.
How do you guys deal with maintenance? Do you try to do any of it in-house, or you guys have servers that you usually get?
Unfortunately, we don't have
Higher mileage vehicles, used vehicles, I'm sure that's also a big expenditure.
It is, and that's why one of the expenditures is vehicle maintenance, and that was part of in the budget. Unfortunately, we don't have people who are skilled as mechanics or mechanic bay. Yes, so we go out and we work through different dealerships and different shops and repair shops. But yes, that is a very big expense, and sometimes you have an older vehicle, and who knows, the transmission can go, and suddenly, oh, you have a vehicle that's gone. Up in Monroe County, which we're right now dealing with a vehicle that just decided it was going to give up the ghost, and it was 15 years old, and the repair would have been like 4 times its Blue Book value, so we didn't do it. So we're right now trying to scramble to find that transportation up there.
So if you have 4 vehicles, you have 4 drivers, or do you have more vehicles
We have
than drivers?
we have right now in the Lehigh Valley, we have four drivers and a driver coordinator. All of them are part-time, however. All of them are, I believe all of them are actually of retirement age. I think all but maybe one are of retirement age. In fact, our coordinator is a former retired middle school teacher, and they do it because they love to do it. You know, I often say our drivers are not just drivers, they're social workers or caseworkers with a license. Jennifer will tell you, and I will tell you, how close our clients come to our drivers. In some cases, they're the only people that these folks see a month, as in they encounter every month. They sometimes become unofficial family members. They become almost best friends. So there are times where a client is in a medical office and is hearing some bad news and is scared. Is a family member sitting next to them? Unfortunately not. Half the time it's our driver sitting next to them. It's not uncommon for them to become unofficial parts of families, be invited to birthday parties. They become a very big part of their lives, and they're a very big part of what we do. And that's why we do try to drum up as much support as we can for this program, because it literally is the engine around everything else we do.
Well, if nobody else has any questions, I'll say thank you for everything you guys do. I don't think many people know you exist unless you come up here, introduce yourself, and I don't know how your service goes unnoticed, but it most certainly does, I'm sure. So thank you very much. If there's anything that you guys need, I'm sure you'll be talking to Tina.
Sure. Well, and it's interesting, as we part of one of the reasons why we rebranded was to help. We wanted to reintroduce ourselves to the community, but also tell the right story. But that is one of our challenges right now, is recognition. You know, when we get money, the first thing we look for is how to spend it on our services. So we don't have the budget where we can go out and buy a bunch of advertising or go out. It is very much word of mouth.
And looking at your salaries, it looks like that's a very, it's not what you guys are in it for, which is very good to see.
I can tell you that absolutely.
That's always a good sign. So very, very proud to have you guys in our area and doing the services that you do.
And we thank you for your continued support.
Next on the agenda, we have a discussion regarding the EPA Brownfield project overview.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. With us today, we have Greg Firely of AMO Environmental Decisions to give you an update on an active EPA Brownfield revolving loan project. This project is at 400 Washington Street, and as required by the EPA, we have to make an announcement and a public hearing on the analysis of brownfields cleanup alternatives. So you'll go through the specifics on this site. If you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end.
Thank you, Merrick. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I'm a consultant with AMO. I'm Greg Firely, working for the county on behalf of their RLF loan fund. GEDP came to them with a site that had some issues that they wanted to clean up and take care of. So part of the EPA process is you have to look at multiple options for the cleanup and have one that actually works. So I want to go through what the site was, where we're at, and how we got here, and what the options are. And you have to advertise this out with the public and let them have the opportunity to review it and send in any comments, and then review them again in a month, and that becomes part of the entire package that goes into the EPA. So everyone's aware of how it's being spent and what's going on. So just a little background on the site. This was introduced to the EPA in February of this year. It was approved by the EPA in March, and part of the process for that is you have to put together a scope of work that shows what you're going to do and look for. So they had some idea of what was there because they did some random sampling, or some like 8 samples, and they found impacts with lead and arsenic. They did look for other things, but there were no impacts identified. So because we were going to go in there and get environmental data, we have to submit this scope of work called a field sampling plan. That was submitted to the EPA in March. They had 3 months to review and approve it. It was approved in May 29th, so the end of May. We were able to get into the field in July to do our sampling, and we are now fine-tuning that sampling for the areas that we want to excavate. And our selected remedy is removal of the impacted soils that have lead impacts and backfill them so they could then do whatever they want with the site, which is a park open to the public and trailhead. That's the big picture overview, and then we'll go into a little more of the details that's available. And I wanted to also let you know the time frame it takes when moving with grant funding with the EPA. One of the things I've learned is grant money is not fast money. So here's the site location from an aerial view. It's right down the road. Here's an aerial of the site. And if you see, there's almost a path working through there because the site was a rail yard from the 1890s and through the 1970s. They also had a woodworking operation there. Everything was knocked down in the 1990s. The GEDP had a phase 1 done for to ensure any issues there were not their own, and that's one of the issues with any land transfer. You buy all the land and the environmental issues that are associated with it, which is why you must have a phase 1 completed before making that land transfer into your property. It's also one of the things you need to do if you want to access any grant funding from the EPA. The plan redevelopment involves a trailhead and parkland. And again, they identified some environmental issues based upon the site history, so they did some sampling of the site. The locations were random, isolated, and not many details were actually provided on where they sampled, why they sampled, or the rationale behind it. However, they did do a widescreen sampling event. They did find lead and arsenic impacts. They contacted the county to access this RLF loan fund grant, which they were approved. And we had to do the site investigation to confirm the remedy that was planned for the site, which is the excavation of the impacted soils. And the plan is to identify the extent laterally and horizontally of the impacts, remove them, and then backfill them. That's for lead. The arsenic, I want to talk about just a little bit, is the levels that are there, the concentrations that are there. There is a DEP-approved methodology called a human health and risk assessment. When you look at the actual properties of the compound that's found at its levels, and it was deemed safe for the end use. It wouldn't be deemed safe if you were to live there, roll around and eat it every day for your whole life, but if you're a recreator there who's going to play there but not live there, it is safe. This is a method that I used before with the DEP, and it was completed by a toxicologist. And this, again, is all at the end of the road, will be approved by the DEP. So arsenic, while there are levels there, and we're open and clear about that, they're not there at levels that will impact you for the end use that is proposed for the site. And all this will be detailed in an Act 2 report with the DEP that is ultimately reviewed and approved by the DEP. So it's not just my word for it. So here you can see there were some, I say random a lot, and I apologize, but there were some random samples that I identified originally. I don't have the exact locations for them because they weren't shot with any handheld devices. They were just kind of marked on a map. When we come in on a larger site like this, we throw a random grid on the site. So that shows you're going to have good coverage over the entire site. And if you do have an area of impacts, you go back in and fine-tune them and identify the extent of those impacts. So here are the impacts of arsenic that were identified. All, while they exceed the standard for residential use, they're low levels. And you can have a copy of this as well. So what you're seeing there are the depths as well. These are the 3 areas that had lead exceedances in soil. And the exceedances for lead range, the standard for direct contact is 500 parts per million. We're finding lead here about 1,000 to 3,000 so far. In fact, we got some more data back. We're about 9,000 parts per million. So in looking at what the end use was proposed for the site, you have to have 3 options. I don't make up these rules, I just implement them. Option 1 is do nothing, which will not cost anything, and you can't do anything with the site, and you could have impacts migrating off your site in the future. You could cap the site, that's allowable. You could cap a 1 acre site in 2 feet of soil. It gets to be expensive, and approximately it will be $1.2 million to do that. And you will not be able to do anything you want with the site because there are use restrictions. You can't impact the cap. The cap needs to be reviewed annually, which the DEP now just started to reinforce. So you have to look at the cap and make sure there's no impacts that will break through. The remedy that they chose to go with was the delineation of the areas of impacts with lead and removal. And that's what we're actually in the process of doing right now. We are releasing samples from the lead. We can do this process just for your own edification. Let's say you have an impact that you're identified, it's right where I'm standing. We collect samples and we step out. So 5 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet. You ask the lab to hold them and you release them one at a time. So as it comes back, if your first step out is clean, you're done. You know where you need to excavate. If it's dirty, then you move on to the next one. So we're now at round 3 for 2 of the sites, and we should be getting back that data in the next 2 weeks or so. So the analysis for brownfields cleanup alternatives is available on the GEDP website for the public to review and comment. Comments can be sent to Jared Mast at his email. There's going to be an ad in the paper posted as well to announce this, and they have until November 1st, the public, I apologize, has until November 1st to submit any comments, and the plan is to come back here at your next meeting on November 7th to review and respond to said comments, at which time the advocate is made final, and as long as there's no one who says, really against this and rails against it and I can't answer it, then we move ahead and remove those soils and go ahead through the Act 2 process and submit all the paperwork. And at the end of the day, you'll have a site where they can do whatever they want with. It'll be unrestricted use for recreational. It could be used for industrial, but not residential, if that makes sense, the whole risk issue. And this is all methodology, A, that's approved by the DEP, B, I've done before numerous times for sites just like this. And that is the extent of the overview of where we're at with this site and the announcement for the public. Are there any questions?
Brown?
I assume then, because the testing and the remediation is based on the intended final use.
Correct.
Correct?
Excellent, yes.
So that the GDP is locked into, they have to use the property for that purpose or similar in that
Correct.
category.
Yes, recreational purposes.
Then, once once the remediation is completed, is there testing that has to continue at increments beyond that?
No.
There's no testing to see if there's any other bleed through or?
When we excavate, there's what's called post-ex sampling. So when you delineate the extent of the impacts that are identified in soil, when you go back out, you excavate to the points that are deemed clean, that have been identified clean. And to show that you've actually removed all the impacted soil, you then collect, you guessed it, random samples from that location. And they get submitted and analyzed. And you can show to the DEP, we identify the extents, we remove the impacted soil, and we can show that we actually removed the impacted soil in this area because the post-ex samples are clean or below the standard for residential use.
And then the use as a trailhead and recreational use, then I would assume there'd be very limited amount of digging, excavation
I would imagine so.
within the
but-
soil, because that would change the profile if you suddenly go in and want to excavate and dig down,
I wouldn't recommend trying to dig down here because bedrock's at about 1 foot.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you, yeah.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Gaffarito. What would the impacts be, or do you get into the impacts of adjacent property owners with regard to the migration that you?
Like leaching off-site?
Yeah,
Sure.
basically, yeah. Is there any sort of impact, or is there any sort of responsibility, or with regard to what happens with the sites that are adjacent to it?
That's a great question. It depends on the constituents of concern that you're dealing with. We're dealing with lead and arsenic. They bind very well with soil and don't typically migrate. There is a value for leaching into groundwater, and for lead, it's 450 parts per million. So anything above that has the potential to leach in the groundwater. And we can run tests we can run analyses to see if that's possible. But the idea is here, we're removing it. So that's going to be a non-issue down the point. If we were dealing with something else that could enter groundwater and travel, whole different story.
So there's no issue with the adjacent waterway then?
Correct.
As well? Okay.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Certainly.
No other questions? Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And if there's no other items for anybody else to bring up, that'd be adjournment.
copies of our pre-application form if anybody wants one, just for information about what we ask on the front end for these projects. You know, we're always canvassing, so if anyone wants